There we go. Welcome to the stream. I am back on this painting of the couple. I wonder if I've got a reference photo to show you. Here we go. It's a bigger version of what I'm trying to do. And lots of interesting refractions and just the way the light dances across their arms and legs and his shirt. And of course the billowing red dress she's got attracted me to the painting. It's part of a series I've been doing. Now this is the fourth in the series. And whether it's the last one, I'm not sure. I'm sort of moved on to another sort of subject. Really enjoy. I have enjoyed the... I'll just move this a bit closer, will I? I'm not sure. What do I need to do? Just thought I was all ready. I think there's a couple of things I just need to sort out. My reference photo. I'll just get that at the right size. Here we go. Yeah, okay, so I'm going to just be doing a bit more work on her leg and darkening up her top, and some of the colours that I'm using on her leg I'll transfer across to her upper arms and then heading up the reflections. That's the plan anyway today. And where is that little pop-out window? It tells me if anyone's chatting. There it is. Let's move that down there. Well, put a chat in myself just to start it off. Welcome to the studio. Okay. Welcome. So I might... What happens if I zoom in a bit? Do that. Let's do this mechanically. Just move the camera. Just about as far as it's going to go. Sorry. I should have this all set up before I start. But, better. Okay. Oops. Draw that, them being my easel and to there. That's good. So I've pulled across all my blues. So this is my handy dandy bucket of blue pencils. And I've said before that I'm using pastel pencils for... Just change my eyes. For the skin, because you get a profusion of colours rather than colour blocks. And that's the vibe I'm going for in this particular painting. I'm going to call it a painting. this, to me, it's pigment. And I've always thought of pastels as pastel painting rather than pastel drawing, but some consider pastels to be drawing rather than painting. And while this is a, you go, oh, but you're using a pencil, so it's a drawing, right? Well, it just happens that the pigment is encased in a in wood, but this is just as much pastel as any of my other soft pastels. Just an applicator. That music I'm listening to. I'm just very lightly scrambling a pastel across the surface. This is a ultramarine. It could be any particular colour. There's no massive reason why I've picked the ultramarine. I just happen to like it. And at the moment I'm just trying to we'll drop some shade on here, but I'm not trying to get it exactly like the photo. There's already a perfectly good photo that this wonderful photographer, what is her name? See if I can find her name, because it's well worth giving her the credit for all her another beautiful work, Strelka, Victoria Strelka, and you can find her work on the website Pixels. And beautiful photography, which is all kindly made. Creative Commons license, so I do want to give a recognition, but it's all free to use for artistic purposes, which is just lovely. I've been thinking about doing some of my own photography. I've got some models in mind of who I'd like to use. And here in Kapiti, where I live, there's a theatre, local playhouse. When I say theatre, I don't mean cinema, I mean like stage. It's an amateur sort of production from locals put on shows, and they have a costume hire. So I'm thinking I might quite like to ones I'm thinking about doing some modelling and go down there and hire some costumes for the day and see what the stage looks like. I haven't really looked at dance. If I could probably, you know, just paint dances for the rest of my life and be quite happy with it. But I also did this painting of a Regency romance, and if you've ever read those Regency romances, you know, stuff like well, Pride and Prejudice is a Regency romance. Absolutely stunning. Let's move that camera a little bit that way, I think. So you can see the bald part of my head. That'll be perfect. To draw and to paint. And the men are, you know, they've got all these sort of glowering looks. Mouldering eyes. My wife and stepdaughters used to enjoy reading Regency romances, and when I ran out of books to read, I'd read them too. I was more sci-fi, but you know, Regency romance is a fantasy of its own. It just doesn't have spaceships. There's ballrooms, and they're just as scary to navigate. But I like romantic paintings. I don't think a painting needs to look accurate. It just needs to evoke something within the viewer, and I happen to enjoy human emotion. You know, the way that he's holding a leg and back, you know, if I can get the pressure right, that'll be, to me, that'll be fantastic. If I can make that look. It's actually holding a get some greens going, but got this. Also want to get this dark in here. We've just got a little bit of his skin which is in deep shadow. We get the brush, a little bit of brush action to blend all this. And I'm just very gently getting my marks on. But when I first started painting, I did do very cautious marks, but they were the sign of a lack of confidence. It's almost a fear of putting the pastel onto the paper. I don't know, if you're an artist, maybe you've gone through that phase as well. It's really beautiful to watch an artist absolutely confidently drop their colours on. It really is a lovely thing. But at this stage, what I'm trying to do is that big one is over there. I want the other, I don't want to saturate with pastel because it's opaque. By putting delicate lines on, it'll let the others breathe through. That's what we want. We want them to breathe through. We don't want to hide the underlayers. So it just means that the painting is going to take however long the painting's going to take. And I suspect that come September, if I haven't finished this one, and by all accounts, you know, the way things are tracking, doesn't look like I will have finished in a week's time. So I'm going to have another one that I'll have started. And so I've got this arts trail coming up. I'm looking for a body of work, and I've been sorting out the paintings to go into it. And I've got some hero pictures. So all my underwater scenes are hero pictures. I've slowly got better at doing them. that's going to be 4. And then I want to have 2 of the Regency Romance ones in. 3 if I can get away with it. Sometimes with Pastel Matte, it starts to fill the tooth. And that's sometimes why I'm a little cautious of using too much pan pastel. It's very easy to get a bit exuberant pan pastel and overfill the paper. And then the rest of your pastel won't get grabbed. We still need this. Need this to be grabby for a bit longer. It's always a temptation to rush. Now, I have found that particularly in streaming, and those who regularly tune in or watch the replays of my streams, you're probably watching them on 2-speed, and that's fine. You know, unless you're listening to the commentary when I'm chatting. And I'm not doing tutorials. I'm just invited you into the studio and I'm painting. And there was a place I used to go to in beautiful region of New Zealand. It's my absolute favourite. It's called Nelson region. Nelson is the city, and they've got the Abel Tasman National Park, which is absolutely gorgeous, beautiful South Pacific colours. Getting a lot of age spots on my hand. Wow, that's something to share online. Anyway, in this area there's a lot of artisans, and one of the most famous glass blowers, probably the most famous glass blower in New Zealand, have a business there called Hoglands Glass. And you can go and watch them blowing the glass, you know, while they're doing their job. And it's beautiful to be there and just watching them doing their job. And it's kind of, I don't know if it's beautiful watching me paint. Some have commented it's very chill for them and they find it very relaxing. The goal is just to open up the studio and go, here I am. Welcome to watch, and sometimes there's things to share and something that I've learnt. Stage of my life, I'm still discovering what works for me when it comes to art, so there's no point in trying to pretend to train others. It's starting to darken up nicely. Let's get a bit of darkness going on down here. So I've been putting down a tasty dark green. Which means I lay the red down. It'll start to darken up. We're creating our own magentas and violets. Which leads me into this area here. Just make that a bit darker. I need to be stay with blue for a moment. down. Right. Just have to, oops, that. And this down a bit. Sorry, just readjust my easel. Knock your painting off, David. The lovely warm colour it's coming into. Just warm her up. Option. Let's see. Okay, so next time I jump on stream, I'll be adding blues and greens to here. I'll be working on this part of the painting. This is starting to... I've yet to put the lights in, but it's starting to come right. Probably a bit darker on her top. It's starting to get there, but once I need to do her skin to just unify these bits together, and it's starting to come together. So let's just pull the camera right back. And this has got much better blend going on now. Starting to get the shape of her, I guess, her butt going on in here. The curvature, this thigh. Just have to think about that. That needs to sweep around more like that. So a bit of brushwork in here. Get some lights going. And a bit of blending. But overall, that was a good session today. Just fix. Yeah, come back in here, and this was all just the top part was just blocking in. So now it's time to sculpt her skin better, and these crazy reflections that happen. And we'll green up a little bit more of her skin, and then might do his shirt next. That might be a good thing to do, and then his arms and his feet, and we'll leave the dress for last. So I hope you had a pleasant time. If you're watching on the replay, have a great week. I will be back in the studio around this time next week. But, that, I can find the stop button. That is it for today. Thank you.